I don't know how two-sided printing works on my computer at home. But this is something I borrowed from a poet named Kelsey Shipman, and she always likes to read the work of other poets that she loves. So I'm gonna start with one, and then I'm gonna start with Ellen Bass. I'm gonna end with Kay Ryan when I'm done reading, but so this is a poem by Ellen Bass that I have taped over my writing table, because I am a worrier, and this poem is really good for anyone who overthinks things a lot. Relax. Bad things are going to happen. Your tomatoes will grow a fungus and your cat will get run over. Someone will leave the bag with the ice cream melting in the car and throw your blue cashmere sweater in the dryer. Your husband will sleep with a girl your daughter's age who breasts spilling out of her blouse. Or your wife will remember she's a lesbian and leave you for the woman next door. The other cat, the one you never really liked, will contract a disease that requires you to pry open its feverish mouth every 4 hours. Your parents will die. No matter how many vitamins you take, how much Pilates, you'll lose your keys, your hair, your memory. If your daughter doesn't plug her heart into every live socket that passes, you'll come home to find your son has emptied the refrigerator, dragged it to the curb, and called the used appliance store for a pickup. Drug money. The Buddha tells a story of a woman chased by a tiger. When she comes to a cliff, she sees a sturdy vine and climbs halfway down. But there's also a tiger below, and 2 mice, one white, one black, scurry out and begin to gnaw the vine. At this point, she notices a wild strawberry growing from a crevice. She looks up, down, at the mice, then she eats the strawberry. So here's the view, the breeze, the pulse in your throat. Your wallet will get stolen, you'll get fat, slip on the bathroom tiles in a foreign hotel and crack your hip. You'll be lonely. Oh, how sweet and tart the red juice is, how tiny the seeds crunch between your teeth. That's Ellen Bass, who I think is marvelous. I saw her read at Round Top last year. And so now I'm going to move into doing a selection of poems from the chapbook, the new chapbook, Come Into the World Like That, which will be out sometime late summer, early fall. The first 2, I have a series of poems about sort of different weather phenomena, and they're sort of setting the geographical stage for my childhood in Ohio. So this one is called Where Snow Comes From. She used to ask Santa for presents and snow. At 16, she prays to a God she doesn't believe in for the peace only divorce can bring. She still wants snow, just a few inches to muffle the scene, or a blizzard to blanket the kitchen, protect glassware from shattering like ice. She wants the yelling to dim in a white expanse. She wants their voices to freeze. Christmas Eve, busy with too many chores, her father either lying about working or working to leave. Suddenly, the door opens, pressure drops, temperature 2. White flakes whiz into the room. An angry shout rivals the wind. And this is Where Clouds Come From. The adults have finally shouted themselves into silence, her father's knuckles cracking as he grips the wheel, her mother huffing out sighs, the discussion never really over. The child presses her forehead to the window, focuses on the LTV steel plant which births both heaven and hell, one side piping flames into the sky, the other releasing soft white smoke, a family of stratus. And this is one I wrote for, it's dedicated to my sister. Inspired by a very innocuous childhood habit she had that I found fascinating ever since. This is called Pit. How you'd capture every lemon quarter gracing the rim of a water glass. How you'd bite into that yellow flesh, suck the juice down, gnaw until only empty rind remained. How Mom worried about the acid you consumed, whether it would burn esophagus or stomach lining. We were children learning to digest broken glass, air laced with poison of furious words our parents thought we didn't understand or that we'd forget by morning. I learned to soothe myself with sweet and secret, downing bags of marshmallows, jars of peanut butter up in my room, stealing sips of vodka from the freezer, but you sat at the table, laughed, looked everyone in the eye, ate our bitterness. I'll do a few more. I'll do 3 more from the collection. So that's the childhood half of the chapbook, and the second half is my adulthood half. And so this is a poem about that whole denial stage when you're like, everything's fine, my life isn't falling apart, it's gonna work out. This is called Plans for Avoiding the Inevitable. Declare bankruptcy, kiss you with passion again, never feel suspicious, never try to learn the truth, get a new job, one that pays well. Don't hate it, don't complain. Cook dinner every night, look the other way when you're with her. Exercise twice a day. Enjoy sex with you again. Don't accuse you of lying. Don't be angry when I learn you've been lying. Feel grateful for your lies. Do not make you talk to my mother again. Do not ask you to do chores. Stop having insomnia. Smile. Stop worrying. Surrender my own lovers. And these last 2, I like to write rules poems, not necessarily for this, there's actually one in this chapbook. I just like to write rules for things that don't necessarily have rules. I think it's fun. And so I have a couple of them in the new manuscript. And so this is rules for no longer saying I love you. It's easier than you might think, even if your heart still feels, still believes. Sometimes surrender is wiser than struggle. If the phrase leaves your lips and finds famine too often, it retreats into your body so that it is absorbed by muscles and liver and kidneys. New lovers won't stop your pain. At best, they can banish it for a day. Find your silver linings, like when you pack up all your things, discover a dress you thought you'd lost, find that it makes you feel beautiful again. And this is actually the last poem in the collection, spoiler alert. It's called Rules for Putting Down Roots. The hardiest cactus can drown from too much rain. Gauge your thirst before you commit. You can lie in your bed, unable to stop inhaling a storm. What sustenance do you need from weather? Calculate the square footage you need to get by. Magnolias dwarf entire yards, grow so thick that the grass dies from lack of light. Pecans will refuse to fruit if their limbs touch those of another tree. Your own arms, how much space do they need? Plants fail to thrive because a thoughtless gardener stuck them in the wrong soil. You need to check the dirt, dig your fingers, let the loam or the clay clutter your nail beds, fill the thin rivers of fingerprints. Maybe you prefer cool, moist earth, or maybe you need something loose and dry to drain your sorrow. So that's a preview of the new manuscript. I will do a couple from We're Smaller Than We Think We Are. And then I'll do some political poems and then some MFA poems. So this first one I'm going to read was actually the first poem I had published in the Texas Poetry Calendar before I got to edit it. Traversing Houston by Bus. And it's dedicated to my former dance partner, with whom I would probably not have gone to Houston and had a lovely time. Squares are the only geometry that made sense to me. Graph paper, the only part of math class I liked. Wasting time filling in the spaces with pencil, going darker and darker, making welts on the other side of the page, creating designs rather than correct answers. Maybe if I hadn't been so intent on filling in the blanks, if I had paid attention to circles and ovals, to circumference, I wouldn't get so disoriented here, wouldn't be so dizzy. Maybe if I had been receptive to soft lines and curves, I wouldn't be dependent on right angles for navigation. Maybe I'd be able to make sense of the pulse, the unstructured sky, the arterial overpasses. The city loops around a spoke of veined highways, overlapping asphalt, and a cracking concrete center which I pass over, under, around, through again and again, unable to find the heart. I'll do it like Erie poem. Okay. My mother confined me to the rocks. Algae fermented in the sun, whispering stories of wrecks. Lake Erie was always murky, not tropical, teal of the salty Caribbean, but the muddy gray of the Rust Belt. I pointed toward my grandmother's dog, keeping pace with laps. I can paddle like that, I whined, but it wasn't enough for my mother. I was supposed to swim with the finesse of a fish or my father. Still, the stony shore gave me joy, the waves strong enough to belong to the ocean crested, slammed against my perch, baptizing me without immersion. I'll do the interlingual poem since we discussed it tonight. So this is called Conversion Interlingua. In the church, I wanted to find God, not Jesus or anyone else from a book, just what I had been searching for as I made my way through the mountains of Big Bend. Some experience to prove to me that the billions of people who believe in something are correct. But there aren't even ghosts, and my mind turns to mischief, to reorganizing the altar, inverting the candles, arranging the hymnals in a sunburst. In the graveyard on the way out, I'm seized by goosebumps and the desire to know every person here, to know all the histories of this town, of this state, to let my Ohio roots crack and bleed, wither and die, to discard my homesickness and nostalgia, to fill my soul with rivers, mountains, sky. As I was preparing to read tonight, I actually found a couple of poems that I wrote in 2013 that I really hadn't read in a while. I guess this was in late 2012, early 13. The New York Times ran a story of the last words of death row inmates before they'd been executed. And I was really fascinated by this story, and I took all of these words and cut them up, and so this is a found poem, and every line in here is a last word of someone who is on death row. Warden, murder me. 1. I wish I could die more than once to tell you how sorry I am. I am the sinner of all sinners. I deserve this. Tell everyone I said goodbye. Let's roll. Lord Jesus, receive my spirit. I love all those on death row. I will always hold them in my hands. 2. No one wins tonight. They are killing me tonight. No one gets closure. They are murdering me tonight. No one walks away victorious. Let's do it, man. Lock and load. Ain't life a bitch. 3. Bury me deep, lay 2 speakers at my feet, put some headphones on my head, rock and roll me when I'm dead. I walk in here like a man, I am leaving like a man. It's a good day to die. I can feel it, taste it. Not bad. So after I wrote that, I got to thinking about like, well, why didn't anyone publish anything about the last words of female death row inmates? And it turns out that women on death row don't actually have many last words. I did a lot of digging to get to this. And so out of this came a poem called The Last Words Spoken by a Female Death Row Inmate in Texas. We're 104 in all, and maybe that seems more than enough. Maybe you're thinking that women talk too much. But considering the other 2 female inmates ever executed in Texas declined to speak, she had room for a few more. The last words spoken by Carla Faye Tucker were of apology, then love, then gratitude masking whatever negativity churned beneath. She gave us as much dignity as one about to die can muster, as much hope as one woman on death row can muster. The very last words spoken by inmate number 777, the only death row Texas woman to speak, were "I will wait for you." How are we on time?
We're pretty good. A couple more.
2 more? All right. Let's see, I'll do 3 more, but the last one's really short, I promise. So I'm going to do 2 from my MFA program. These are the 2 that, I wrote in the first semester of the MFA that have come out pretty well. And this first one, I actually wrote in Tim Hernandez's writing and social action class, and it's called Rules for Gentrification. Forget that your mixed-use development was built over a house that once held 5 generations. Be colorblind. Drive out the decrepit liquor store, replace it with a high-end salon. Send your children to private school. Forget that your condo is built on what once was a toxic waste dump. Colonize the hearts of neighborhoods. Drive out the barber shop, replace it with a craft whiskey bar. Learn self-defense just in case. Forget that your house was built on the ruins of the state mental hospital. Settle. Drive out your conscience. Replace it with a home security system. Lay your foundations like graves. And this next one, it's actually forthcoming in the Texas Observer at some point in the first half of the year. I'm super excited about that, because I didn't know they did poetry. And then someone's like, you need to email Naomi Nye and send her poems. And so it was awesome. While I was trying to avoid falling in love, a coyote loped down the street at dawn and my heart stuttered. The canid never acknowledged us, its legs propelling through the intersection. My dog strained to chase, fulfill terrier imperative, 20 pounds of muscle and instinct pulling against the leash, working to break grip and pursue the hurried creature, overtake the passing force. I dug my heels into the lawn, goosebumps rising, senses tuned to the glimpse of wilderness breaking through my desire for order. And I will close, again, I mentioned I love Kay Ryan, and her poem, The Best of It. I actually have it framed in my room. And this is, again, one of those poems that is very settling and very calming. So this is called The Best of It. However carved up or pared down we get, we keep on making the best of it, as though it doesn't matter that our acres down to a square foot, as though our garden could be one bean and we'd rejoice if it flourishes, as though one bean could nourish us.